There we go. Okay. All right, let's share my screen and let's kick it off. I'll give links to everything, and as well as for people who stick it out, some stuff at the end. Okay, so we're in week 5. This is, I didn't know what to call it, so I just called it finale week. At this point, I feel like everyone knows each other even. But feel free to say hi if you're new. You're still totally welcome to jump around and visit each other's sessions. I'm also gonna blast through the housekeeping just because there's not that much more housekeeping left to do. And I also wanted to shout out what I did for last week's event, last week's recap, which was essentially write up my own experience of intermediate packets, and I broke my own journey down into 8 intermediate packets. So that's tweet, live stream, blog post, conference, job interview, and this took place over the course of a year. So it it shocked even me, because like, even though I went through it, you never really think about intermediate packets dripping out over a year. And the thing that I really wanted to get across was that I think the way that intermediate packets was presented last time was very much of a top-down thing. Like, I want to do something big. Let me work backwards and break it down into small things I can ship. But it also equally works for bottom up, where you have no idea what the end goal is, but you're just like, let's just ship of small things and try to build up to something big if the interest is there. Glenn G says, title reminds me of bubbling of events. Yep, that's a very web dev analogy, and that's totally true. There are 2 directions of bubbling. I forget what the opposite of bubbling is in the DOM, but that's beside the point. Anyway, so I wanted to offer that as my own perspective on intermediate packets. Oh yeah, Dave says he used bubbling up in his newsletter today. Yeah, totally. Yeah, we're bubbling ideas. That's great. I just yeah, that title doesn't resonate with me, so I just went with bottom up. But feel free to write your own posts, and I think that's something that we should talk about as well. Like, who's written stuff as a result of this course, and what post ideas do you have to share? You can feel free to throw that in the chat as well. Housekeeping, we've covered this plenty of times, but stupid questions are welcome. Often beats perfect. And this is a discussion and not a lecture. All right, so we've covered all these 12. I think it actually works out to 12. So it's cohort 12 with 12 items. I think so. I grabbed this. I went back to lecture 1 and grabbed this slide. And actually, the last slide, the last week changed quite a bit, I think. But the first 3 have been relatively stable, and it's quite a bit of content if you walk back and think about it. So I just wanted to, acknowledge and pause for a bit and say, like, I think the last 5 weeks have been a real blast in terms of like just a lot of ideas, especially if you're new to them for the first time. But even for me, going through them the second time, I felt like I just had a lot more to think about in each time, because I've lived through it and I've had a year to really sit with it. So I think it'd be interesting to hear from you in a chat, or if you want to speak up. I'm just going to pause here and like just go like, was there a particular idea that really stuck out to you during this this whole curriculum? What's your favorite sort of takeaway that you really liked? I'm just going to pause here and see what comes up, because I want us to chat early instead of me talking too much. The screencast is a bit zoomed in. Thanks, IP. Yeah, that's just because I was being lazy, but yeah, I've made it full screen now. Which of these items really resonated with you, or do you have trouble? Did you want to go over any one of these items again? We can do that as well. Oh, we have someone raising their hands to speak. I don't see your name, unfortunately, but you just, yeah, go ahead and unmute.
Just see
Dave.
my name.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I see.
What's going on?
Hey, Dave.
The one thing that I found, which wasn't actually to do with lessons, wasn't to do with systems and processes. It was perception for me. It's just been a shift in perception, but that's been the benefit of building a second brain. But I've taken that and I've kind of applied that to everything. And I'm looking at, whether it be a task or whether it be something I want to do, what is the perception that motivates me most? And I've realized from second brain that I came in and I wanted to share more and I wanted to output. And I think it came from a selfish point of view of, I just want to share. I want to share. I'm going to attract more people, get more business, be a thought leader, etc. But I realized when I was sharing in circle and sharing here and having that kind of backwards and forwards, I like helping people. And I look at even day-to-day friendships I have, conversations, anything that goes deep with people. I'm interested in their good as well. And I've realized that the perception was wrong for me to just look at output in isolation and say, I just want to output, instead of how do I respond most positively to actually get output. And for me, now I realize that for helping other people and building connections, like even the last week, I've been really lucky. People have been messaging me, asking to connect. I've had Zoom calls with people, I'm emailing people, and we're all having kind of backwards and forwards dialogue. But that wouldn't have happened unless I output in the first place to share my opinion, to actually attract those like-minded people as well. So that's where I kind of see now the perception is going to help me, and I'm going to look at any future problem rather than just looking at it like it's a task or a project. I'm big into kind of alleviating willpower and not having this battle that you have to get up every day and you have to do something against your will to, finally get to the end of a journey. And for me, if there's those breadcrumbs of emotion for me and breadcrumbs of connection with people, I'll get more addicted to it. I'll enjoy it more. It will be easier for me all the time. And I think it will become more and more natural to do.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Thanks so much, Dave, for sharing that. There's so many things I can go off in that. Tiago ended his lecture by saying, chase what excites you, and I think that's definitely something that you're doing. I personally,
and that's a good point. I think we have to kind of shape it into a way that does excite you.
It does.
It's not always naturally that's what I didn't realize. It wasn't just, that's, output is going to excite me. I had to find what does excite me and how can I tie that into output. And now it's a marriage in heaven.
I call it a nexus of interest, because it's not just if it only excites you and no one else, then you're just going to talk to yourself. So you have to find the intersection. So, okay. All right. A little bonus idea for you guys.
Go on, hit me with this.
All right. So the internet is very, very in love with this idea of ikigai, because it's a foreign sounding word, and we love foreign sounding words as thought leaders. So Zettelkasten, ikigai, anything that's not English, it's great. So so there's this idea that you should do.
Sean, just real quick. My wife is Japanese, from Japan. I've been married 27 years. But I asked her about ikigai, and she's like, "What the hell's that?" So I just wanted to share.
It's made up.
It's real, but it's not just some secret thing that all Japanese people know about. So I just wanted to put that out there. All Japanese people do know about ninjas, but they don't know. I'm teasing, but they don't know about ikigai. So
perfect.
They're just not in their cult yet. That's all.
Don't worry. So I was just gonna say, like, it's very in vogue, and I think if it works for you, it doesn't really matter what the origin is, whether it's true or not, right?
Yeah.
Like, so my point is that there's this 4 circles. It says what you love, what you're good at, what you can be paid for, and what the world needs. And I think that actually it really drives down to what you're good at becomes what you love becomes what you're good at if you just do it long enough. And if you're good at it, you eventually start to love it. So that this collapses into one circle, and then what you can be paid for and what the world needs basically collapse to one circle as well, because the creator economy and just the internet economy has created a lot of ways to make money as long as you can supply the world with what it needs, they'll find a way to pay for it.
This is funny where you're going with this, because this reminds me of a conversation I had maybe a week ago about IPs and how I couldn't understand them and I couldn't wrap my head around them. And when I did understand them, I realized I just done them naturally and there wasn't the eureka moment. And part of what I want to do is I want to help kind of educate people and especially kind of creative business owners to have more confidence in themselves. But what you're showing me here is actually making me realize that there's so many things that I do naturally. So even when I said what excites me, that's in a conversation with you. But to me, it would just be a given that it would make no sense to me just to talk self-servingly just about me. I'm good at empathizing with other people, but the point here is that it's sometimes I don't realize that I do things naturally, and they're just in there and they're part of a process and not explain them. And that's one of the big things that I've learned here is to actually explain the full idea rather than what I do automatically that I don't even think about. You know, and I think writing has made me document that better. This is really good. I like this.
Right, exactly. It's actually the advice that I give people. So be sure that you're not only paying attention to what excites you, but also what excites others.
Yeah.
So the first part of my sort of IPs is respond to others. It's very other oriented because that guarantees feedback. The people are the most interested in themselves. So if you're not appealing to other people's self-interest, then people often, like when they start out creating content online, they're wondering how come they don't get response. Like you're much more likely to get a response.
Oh my God. That's in my newsletter. This is in my newsletter today, which the challenge for people is to actually respond to people if they've helped you, if they've saved you time, if they've made you think. Go and respond to them. And I actually set a challenge to myself to respond to others.
Yeah. Pick up what others put down. I also have this. I refer to it so much that we have a shortcut for it in our community. But yeah, do you want to plug your newsletter? Actually, if people have like newsletters and blogs and stuff, throw it in the chat so that we can actually see and sign up for each other and stay in touch. Yeah,
I agree.
But anyway, so like it's a dance. It's a it's not a one-way street. You absolutely are engaging with other people on that. I have a bunch of other hands now. So thanks, Dave. I'm gonna move on to someone else. So who's this? Zoom doesn't show me your name. Oh God.
IP and Glenn have their hands up. IP was first.
Okay, IP. All right, go ahead, IP. Thanks, guy.
Yeah. Hey guys. I completely agree with what just Dave said. It's the community aspect of building the second brain that has really helped me as well. Just connecting to people and just to see what they're doing has really helped me. And one more funny thing I wanted to show you. I just did that Ikigai thing.
What do you mean? What do you mean you did it? What do you mean you did it?
No, I found my Ikigai. It's architecture. I've just hadn't been able to pinpoint me, but I've always been in love with it, and this is something which I really want to pursue. And with building a second brain, what I've actually seen is since it's relieved so much of cognitive overload that it's helped me scale up. Like previously, I could just like manage 1 or 2 projects at a particular time. Yeah. Now I can see by making more intermediate packets, I can actually scale up my work. I can, at a same moment in time, I can work on different projects, which I previously couldn't. So that's really helped me out.
That's awesome. Awesome. Are you a practicing architect? Is that what?
Yes, I am.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I am. Yeah.
It's awesome. Well, I'm glad you really clarified that for yourself. And yeah, thanks for sharing.
Yeah, it's been amazing. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. Let's see. Okay, something's wrong with my Zoom because it really doesn't show names. But here, Glenn, go ahead.
I read the pick up what they put down post, but I was wondering if you had a few more examples or could show something, because it seems kind of key in kickstarting things when you don't really have so much of a following yet, and how you generally engage with people, or like what it would look like. Like, for example, do you make a blog post, or do you just respond on a tweet, or do you?
Yeah, those are most often the common examples. You can also, for example, like if one of the key examples I do is basically write a book review. if an author puts out a book, you want to go through it and jot down like your top learnings and then send it back to them. They would probably really appreciate it. And even if you're not on social media at all, just emailing them old school style, they'll probably read through your response and like either really appreciate it, probably make their day. And if you got anything wrong, they'll probably correct you. And that's kind of free consultation or teaching that you just don't get anywhere else. And I think if you do it often enough, or if you have like a really high quality correspondence, then you become partners, then you become collaborators, right? Because then they'll be like, the next time they're working on something, they'll send it to you first and go like, what do you think? Because you don't have to be an expert. You do have something that you don't have, which is a beginner's mind. I say that a lot. But yeah, I can this doesn't have to be a whole lecture on think of what they put down, but if anyone else has similar ideas, I'm interested to hear them as well. But I can keep coming up with stuff if you want. Glenn, does that help? I can show you. I mean, I'm still sharing my screen, right? So let's see. 6. What it's node. Design patterns. So I read so I read I got sent a review copy of this book, and then I went through it, and I just like listed my top 5 learnings, and it really resonated with a bunch of people. I don't know if we can see the stats on this. And then they sent me the book. So autographed and everything. I just had the PDF before, but now then they just sent it to me from Italy. I don't know if like this is like the most this is the one that comes up for me now, because I didn't know them before. And I was just interested in this book, like no design patterns. And then I started chatting with them, and now they're some of my go-to people for Node.js, and these are experts at the subject. I think all it is just like looking for opportunities in which like you're interested in something and someone else has just put out something that's super relevant to them, and just like going all out and picking up on it, like actually trying out the demo, reading the book, giving you honest feedback. A lot of times they're not going to bite, especially if they're superstar celebrity type people, but some of them will, and you start having an honest conversation between them. And I think if you focus on people who are like just a little bit ahead of you, and not like the same celebrities that everyone goes for, you have a pretty good shot at building your network. And it's often that forming that peer group that's all like you're all like round about the same level in your industry, and then you progress together over years, that you build up a very strong bond, because that becomes your cohort, right? And that's all it is. I'm not a believer in any sort of growth hacky style. Like there are tons of like how to crush it on Twitter courses out there.
Can I add something in?
Yeah.
One of the things that I realized when I started out with, whether it be writing, blogging, sharing stuff, is the amount of people that consume information and don't actually interact with you. There will be tons and tons of people. And look, we just spoke a minute ago about me challenging people to say thank you, and Swick's doing the same thing. There's a term called the invisible pipeline, which is people consuming, and all of a sudden they may come along and buy your book or your course or whatever, and it's like, yeah, I've been following you for 2 years, I love everything, but you may not know about those people. So I think you have to either have somebody specific in mind that you're going to write for, or you have to write for yourself. I don't mean produce content, whatever way you're going to do it. There has to be a goal, or either it's something you're really interested in and you're going to share it in your learning and your growth, or there's someone in mind, whether it be you a few years ago, you in the future, or a friend somebody who's obsessed about something. But I think there has to be someone in mind for that kind of that white noise of emptiness initially, because it's not a kind of metrics game of subscribers and how many people and stuff like that. I think slowly you will build up followings, but it has to be authentic and true to you to get you through the slow part of it at the start.
Yeah, totally agree with that. I pulled up my favorite version of this, which is the 1% rule. So 90% of people lurk on the internet, and then 9% actually comment or contribute, and then 1% actually have original creations. So yeah, you're gonna have a lot of lurkers, but they're still paying attention anyway. It just takes a while for them to come out. Sometimes you got to encourage them a little bit as well. I don't know if anyone else has like, like how do you start an interaction and build a following. I'm definitely not the only source. I have my own perspective. But...
I'm happy to share, just since it's new for me. So
yeah.
One thing, I did the rite of passage program just prior to doing this, and out of that I met a cohort of people, and so now we meet daily as a writing group. So we don't necessarily have a common interest other than writing, but it's like this group of people that I went through the program with, that I know, I'm supporting them, they're supporting me. That feels really nice. The other thing, I did ship 30 for 30. Didn't get super into it, but one thing I did get out of that, I really loved my accountability partner. And what I learned was I could go up and start to follow some people on Twitter and reply to their stuff and give feedback and interact with them. And then in turn, not all of them, some of them will come and start to follow me, especially if I'm producing some content. And so, to give an example, I think I had 6 Twitter followers in my 14 years on Twitter, because basically I wasn't on Twitter. And suddenly I'm on Twitter, and now I have like 96 followers, which is like, it's not necessarily the number, but I now know that those 90 people definitely are from like me writing and producing some content. And in turn, I go and look at those people and I'm like, oh, that person's producing content. Oh, that stuff's kind of neat. And so it becomes very personable and kind of fun. Like you slowly start to get to know these other people and interact with them. And some of them I've even hopped on like a Zoom call with them or whatever, or exchanged emails to have a lengthier discussion off whatever platform. So I would say, there's the circle group up here in BASB. Maybe you have some particular thing that you're interested in, Glenn. I don't know, like some topic area, whether it's coding or psychology or downhill skiing. And or maybe the intersection of all 3 of those, downhill skiers that code and that are into psychology. That would be a cool group. Discuss existentialism as you ski downhill and then code about it later. But you probably can find people that you can interact with. And I guess what I'm trying to say is like meeting some people where you have some similar background, like there's already a little bit of, I want to say vulnerability, but commonality even too. You kind of know people versus just going out and trying to meet complete strangers, which can work, but you might get more of the crickets, or as Dave was saying, the invisible pipeline. So, yeah,
basically connect with people who are like kind of at your level and share your interests, right? Like, and like a small group of like 10 or 15 like people who are also going through the same thing. It's much better than like 100 people who have no idea who you are and never interact with you.
I connect with people with strong opinions, and whether I agree or disagree, I think that's whether it be online or friendships. I think I want somebody to have a viewpoint and stuff. I don't want somebody just to factualize and say, this is how I do this. And sometimes that can happen in coding and stuff like that as well. Somebody can share some amazing code, but none of their personality or the benefit of why they decided, how they got to the realization of what they done, or how they're going to utilize this later on as well. Those little small things I do think really help as well. Just for me, because we're in that kind of overload of so much stuff that everything's a Google away, but I find I follow more people who I nod along and say, yeah, I have that same problem. Yeah, that really annoys me as well.
Yeah, you share problems. I don't know. Maybe it's community. That's the word we're trying to.
And just real quick, Sean, I saw you bringing up Dave Perel, Rite of Passage. for
Yeah.
people now that we've been studying this code pipeline, the C, O, D, and E, that rite of passage really focuses, it jumps in at D and goes to E pretty quickly. So it's all D and E with a little bit of C and O. Like Dave Perel gives you like a 45-minute recorded essays, like, here's how to set up a second brain. Good luck. And then like, in terms of the having some place to collect your notes and to use it. He doesn't go deeply into that part. And then for others who are maybe considering it, you can sign up for his 50 days of writing essays. And really, like, if you just want the straight information, just like building a second brain where all the information's up on Tiago's blog, Dave Perel's 50 days of writing, that's 100% of the information that's in the course, but really you're doing it for the community and the accountability.
Yeah.
So
I'm happy to share notes on his 50 days as well. I only started it the other day, and I've been documenting each day and just pulling out tips on what he does and how he connects with people and stuff like that for my newsletter as well.
That's great. That's great. Yeah. You know, don't forget to, you're collecting all this information, taking all this in. Don't forget that you need to practice it. And sometimes you can do too much learning as well. But no, this is great. I actually was a subscriber for this thing. It was going to be a book. It's going to be a book of 100 tips, and then he got to 50 and then he stopped. I think because he found some other opportunity that he wanted to pursue, so he just stopped at 50 and then turned into like an email sequence. Which was pretty funny.
I've only realized as everybody's talking, do you know what I do in chat now? I progressively summarize everybody who talks.
It's great.
I've only realized I've started doing that. Yeah.
Use the knowledge. There we go. Appreciate that. Okay. Well, we don't have to, you know, we'll have more conversations as we go. Glenn, I hope that's okay. I didn't hear from you again, but yeah, let us know if you have like
that was fine.
This is an ongoing topic anyway, but I was just gonna go ahead and try to recap a little bit more, and then we can just go to general discussion. I think I'm also trying to go from super granular in the course to less granular and then least granular. And congrats, Ken, you hit 101 followers. Very nice. You can all get Dalmatian coats. But okay, so what we're trying to sort of step back from everything and go really into is to understand the structure of code, right? Like CODE, like we diverge and then we converge. We have defined what it means to capture. I don't know. I'm sorry about this spillover. It's just what happened in the PDF. We define how what it means to capture. You know, what the capture habit is, and you know, how we focus on 12 favorite problems. We define how it means to organize with the para system. And then we try to emphasize converging as well, with distilling, progressive summarization, and then expressing with intermediate packets. And then we defined a little bit last week on project completion as well as project kickoff this week. So that's kind of the rough structure of this, but I think the diamond shape is really important to me. And I hope that it really comes across to you as well, that our natural tendency is to spend 90% of our time here in the divergence phase, because it's fun, because you're always learning new stuff and you don't have to lock yourself down and delete things and commit yourself to a single phrase or sentence or paragraph or essay. But the real work comes here.
It's
and
safe, isn't it?
It is, well, it's safe and fun. Yeah, let's put it that way.
Yeah, no, but it's safe. You don't have to expose yourself to the world, but you still have a sense of achievement. Right. I've spent hours collecting and reading and stuff like that, but none of that is, you know, self-expression. Right,
exactly. So and you have to realize that a bulk of the learning that happens comes when you go through the act of distillation and expression, particularly when you express and you get feedback, which starts the loop to go back again. The reason that people stop is they don't get feedback, and you do need that feedback to keep going. So that's something I really wanted to stress. And then at the highest level, you know, what we're really here about is I should probably have presented this if I was any good at this. This is why we're here, right? Like fundamentally understanding that the way that we are historically trained to ingest information is to put everything in our first brain and then try to have a single threaded output that doesn't really have a system to it. And the way that Tiago phrases it is that, you know, leave all the routine stuff to your second brain, the stuff that machines are good at, to your second brain, and then the stuff that humans are good at, which is all the fun stuff: creative writing, problem solving, storytelling, imagination, generating hypothesis. Free that up. And to step outside the flow of information. Me personally, I tend to extend this as well. So the two things that machines that do better than us is storage and search. So it's not just remembering, but also recalling things. It can be pretty good at that as well. I love. By the way, I love people who are dropping their profiles and blog posts and newsletter in the chat. If you do want to connect, I'd be happy to follow up on that. And I'm putting together a list on the slides as well, so people can follow up. Okay, so this is not supposed to be there. Anyway, okay. Yeah. Okay. So the final piece of content that Tiago talked about.
Somebody who's a dev, all the tech problems you have.
What?
You get so many tech problems.
Well, I mean, no, it's just I'm thinking at a different level. There.
Oh yeah, your brain's too fast for the machine. Yeah, sorry, I forgot.
So
go on, oh genius one.
That's fine. What I really liked was the kind of commencement style of Tiago covering how to kick off a project at the end of this course, which I don't think we had during cohort 10. But it would have been really helpful for me to have this mental model of like, okay, when you kick off a project, like there's a way you do this, assuming that you have set up your second brain, right? You first like ignore your second brain first, like just brain dump everything that you currently think, and then go through your second brain by like going through the notebooks, searching for terms, and then rearranging things, moving things up in the para system towards your current project that you've just formed. And I find that an interesting parallel to the project completion checklist that was featured last week. So you can see like a nice one-to-one correspondence of each of the sections here. And it's how you promote stuff to projects and how you demote stuff to archive or something that's not project area or resource. But yeah, I just wanted to note this parallelism, and I think it's something that when you have a functioning second brain and it's set up to make you productive in subsequent projects, having a system like this helps you get up and running really quickly. And I saw, and I think seeing it in motion in the demo that he did this week was really helpful. So I'll just leave it at that. Okay. I'm not sure what I have after this. Oh, then I have quotes. My favorite part. Again, I really encourage you to collect quotes, whatever resonates with you. This is just what resonates with me. And we can talk about anything else that I'll pause here after I go through the quotes. So the first quote that I outlined is one from his slide. A modern piece of work isn't created, it's assembled, right? So we're starting from abundance. We're starting from a place of like, we have 80% of the work done, which is a quote from last week. We don't start anything before it's 80% complete. Something ridiculous like that, which is obviously an exaggeration, but it goes to show how much work should be done ahead of time through intermediate packets, so that when you're embarking on a project, you're really doing final assembly. And that's a step change from how people normally view their projects, in their creative endeavors. Second quote, your second brain is not a library. It's an idea factory. It's not the place to do research. It's where you take action. Again, so similarly, like I think I'm still here. So I don't want to say like I've done everything that's been recommended here. I definitely treat my second brain as a library. I look at the stuff that I read and I store stuff in the right place, like kind of like a digital librarian. Like, I have my own Dewey Decimal System and I just slot the according stuff there, and I kind of don't really set it up for internalization or summarization. So I need to do more personally to make it more of an idea factory where I take action, because right now I just do a lot of just in case storage, and it's it's not meant to do that. Like you can do that all day long and not really produce more. So the goal is not storing more information. You shouldn't measure yourself by the amount of megabytes that you store in your second brain. It's about the output. Your first brain is the bottleneck. Give it a different job. Step out the flow of information. So this is the one that I really resonated with in this thing, right? Like this is the first brain, and it's kind of like the bottleneck for the information, and this is the second brain with like where it's doing a lot more fun stuff. Give up low value work. We know how to do it, but it gives us a false sense of security. This one's a really, so to me it actually makes a lot of sense. I don't know how well it relates for you guys, but I do a lot of things that give me a sense of security, like something that's familiar and comfortable. I just do it more because like I know how to do it, and it's not really stretching my brain very much. I can listen to podcasts or watch a movie while I do it. It's shallow work. If we really want to do deep work, we have to push past that, free our brains up to do the deep work. And finally, the piece that we already talked about: chase what excites you and take some notes along the way. I think this one is very much, I think Tiago's kind of Tiago's very much promoting an inspiration-driven approach, where you live life more in the moment than others. So he's had quite a few tweets. So among like startup founders and tech people, there's a very in vogue trend of like being detached, right? To meditate a lot, to be stoic, and to not let your emotions wash over you in any particular good or bad scenario. And Tiago's kind of like pushing back against that and saying like you should live in the moment more and see where that takes you. So I kind of like that spiritually. Even though I know that Stoicism has its benefits as well, but I just want to center that in terms of like what Tiago is saying versus what he's not saying. So he's not saying be dispassionate about everything. He's saying really look for what excites you, and when that comes up, use your second brain to pursue that with all your heart. So yeah, that's those are my quotes. So does anyone else have quotes they want to share? Let's see.
I want to know what you do with the quotes.
Right. Well, right now I'm
just, like how you utilize them, because they're somebody else's words now. So I just want to know where they go in your second brain. Are they just tagged as a quote, or do you add your own words? My preference would be to add my thoughts underneath it, like you explained them to us.
Right. They would be eventually quoted somewhere in one of my blog posts. That's my action, right? Or I would tweet it. But I try to tweet only stuff that's my words. Whereas if it's a blog post,
that's exactly why I put a word. That's why I would put my perspective, I suppose, underneath it, or maybe try to see what question they're trying to answer.
Yeah, sure, exactly. Okay, there's some conversation going on. Does anyone want to share quotes? Okay, Amity says, I really like productivity is for people with no leverage. Whoa, who said that? Was it Tiago?
Yeah, I think so. I think that was in the last or second to last session. Yeah.
Okay, I missed that. Well, that's fire, man. I got nothing else to say apart from like, yeah, good job. I'm stealing that one. Okay. Who else? Guy says, Guy, why don't you come on and explain what your quote is?
I started I've been following your practice of collecting quotes from my session. So first of all, thank you for the inspiration. I think it's really, really helpful to focus my thoughts. But one of the quotes that resonated was the purpose of this second brain. And Dave, you were hinting at it before as well. Like, why are we doing this? And Tiago mentioned it a little bit in the Q&A for this week. He said that you can use your second brain to be a better citizen, family member, and human. And a lot of times we may use our second brain to collect these internet points in quotes. It doesn't really, it's like in a video game, it's nice. It doesn't really do anything. So, the purpose should be something bigger than yourself. And when you have that kind of purpose, it makes things a little bit easier and better to be of service to others. That resonated with me.
That's really great. Yeah, it's true. I'm definitely easily gamified by internet points, but I know that there's more important things out there. Yeah. Glenn says, regarding meditation, it's rather the opposite of detaching. It's coming into closer harmony with the actuality of our experience. Whoa. Who's Adyashanti? Go on, Glenn. What's the context?
Adyashanti is a rather popular now meditation teacher. I think he's mainly popular in the States, or well known, but he's also one of the few legit teachers.
Got it. Cool. Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a place for both. But definitely at work, I try to do the more detached and stoic thing. And then in my personal stuff, I definitely live in the moment more. All right, so that's it for our featured quotes. I didn't have actually much else to talk about. I haven't done this yet, but we all have homework, and there's still homework today, which is to fill out the second brain snapshot thing, and get access to second brain habits. I think habits are just like trending in general. Like if there's one thing that's probably not, there's only lightly touched on is habits here. And of course, James Clear owns that one. So I'm curious if y'all have actually done this and have thoughts on habits that you're trying to develop. But I think that's definitely one of those things where you can everything here that's in second brain is more or less conscious, and it's a very like step change approach every single time, whereas habits are much more focused on like what James Clear says, like being 1% better every single day, and being automatic to the point that you don't think about it. Part of that is definitely being having your identity change towards being someone who does the habit without even thinking, rather than having it be some heavy lift, like you don't even count it as work anymore. So that's something I really appreciate with the habit faction of the productivity guru type. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I was just going to open up for discussion before we leave. And I was definitely, I was going to share all the slides. I think we have all the slides in slide 5. Sorry, we have all the slides in Zoom. I was also going to offer my Discord. So I usually run a paid Discord, but I'm just going to share it with everyone here as a thank you for coming along. If you want to, continue the conversation, I have a small group of people who talk about this stuff, and we share our work, and we learn in public, and we talk about just all sorts of stuff. It's more coding related, but you're all welcome to join because you've been through this journey with me. And this is Discord, so not everyone's on Discord. I understand that, but I'm in Discord, so it's a nice place to hang out throughout the day. Okay, so yeah, I'm just gonna open out for general questions and answers, or if anyone has a question that has a takeaway that they want to share about this course, how they've changed in their perspective, someone we haven't heard from. I'm gonna open it up. Anyone? This is always the awkward part. Someone's got to break the ice. Oh, there we go. Hey.
I think when you raise your hand, you get pushed to the top of the.
You do. Yeah, you do. Yeah, there we go.
It's kind of weird.
Hey,
hi. So at first I wanted to publicly thank Sean for letting me use his Learn in Public post. I used it to send to my newsletter subscribers about some thoughts I was having around learning in public. So I could get feedback from them, and then I could actually do a public blog post on it. And what I discovered when I sent it to my newsletter subscribers is their idea of learning in public was gathering information and discussing it with other people. It really wasn't like producing work. So I need a different term for it for my field. It's not, so it's given me something to noodle about, and it's just interesting how things don't always translate the way you think they're going to translate. And then the one thing I learned in doing this course, I have this thing about always wanting to do everything right. Like there's one best way to do it, and I'm going to figure out the way to do it, and I'm going to do it right, and then I'm going to be super effective and productive or something. And what I got from the mentor sessions is each mentor took the BSAB course materials and really customized it for what they needed to produce what they wanted to make in the world. And so like you, Sean, were talking about like, you know, podcasts and blog posts and a newsletter. And I was like, that was awesome. And then I go to Ali and Elizabeth's session, and they during YouTube videos, and they're like, yeah, I don't do any of this other stuff. I just like do like, I use like these 2 pieces, and this is what I use. And I don't worry about that. No, I don't worry about doing habits. I just do what I feel like. No, I don't do a routine. I just do whatever I feel like I have energy for that day. Like they're just like complete opposite of like a lot of other people. So it was really helpful because it's just like, yeah, there's like no way to mess this up. Here's a bunch of tools. You can use them how you want. Pick what you need. This is how it works together. Don't get obsessed about, you know, Notion or Roam or, you know, whatever. Like just, you know, make life easier for yourself. Here's an invitation, you know. And I was like, oh, this is such a relief. It's such a relief. I've had a good time then implementing pieces of this in making my YouTube videos. And now I have a clear vision of what I want to do with it and how to keep adding on to it without punishing myself and trying to set up this really rigid structure. So.
Yeah, is that your primary medium? I actually don't know. Is your YouTube connected to PA Ancestors?
It is. If you go to the podcast page, the podcast.
I'm still not used to video podcasts. This is awesome. Okay.
Well, I said the podcast started with doing like interviews with people. And then this last season, I thought I'd make it more a narrative and actually do the work in public, right?
Yeah.
And like, you know, but I do have interviews on there with archivists and librarians and historians and authors and stuff like that. That was the first season. And they're just like audio without the video component. And I can't believe you're going to watch this. Oh my goodness.
Of course. Yeah. You're doing more on YouTube than I am. I'm just messing around.
I am so excited. I now have 100 subscribers, and I am
Oh
yeah, I hit 100 this weekend. And
Yay.
What's funny is in the statistics, like when YouTube shows you the statistics, like I know like people watched like 26 hours of my videos like in the last week, right? But like I have 100 subscribers, right? Like I know how many people have watched, and you know, it's really funny. So it is that 1% like that are actually interacting and commenting. So
it is. That's why I think that's the rule for general audiences, because they don't necessarily have anything to say. But if you the response rates are much higher if you have a conversation with someone actively in that field, right? Which is why I always want to try to push people towards picking what others put down in the sense of like, who else is doing this work? Who else can you bounce the energy off of, so that you're both pushing yourself in new ways. So that's great. Thanks so much for sharing.
You're free to watch my videos. Now I'm used to hearing myself talk now and watching myself, so I can handle it, but that's the hardest part.
I would say on the imperfection piece, like this is an ideal, right? Like particularly because Tiago has to model his behavior. We shouldn't think that we all have to do it that exactly like he does, because we don't all teach building a second brain. we have other contexts as well. So I definitely view it as like a menu where you just pick off the stuff that you like. I really like Para. I really like the capture toolkit. I think 12 favorite problems, the 12 number is bullshit. I
do too. I did 7 because then I had one for each day of the week that I could like pick up and look at, and when I journal in the morning, I could look, so be a mentor in the next session. Oh, absolutely not. No, there's
I think it really
I could sit here and say, look, this is all the stuff I don't use with this wonderful, maybe I'll have more done, but I don't know.
Well, I mean, if you just see like how disorganized I am, like you're doing fine. You can all do it.
Your newsletter is wonderful, though. I really love it.
Thank you.
It made me like I only subscribed for a few weeks, but it inspired me to be more. I don't know what the word is. I guess it's vulnerability or just sharing in my newsletter part.
Yeah.
So rather than just saying, oh, here's the latest podcast, here's the latest blog post, and a couple nice things. There's just like, oh, I'm just going to dump and just really talk to people like I'm actually talking to somebody on the other end of this email versus, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
write to your friends, and like a letter to your friend would be like, like here's what's going on in my life, and then here's some other like. So recently what I've done, just to show people, I forget what's the CK thing. Oh God.
Like I just moved my oldest daughter into her first apartment, right? So like, like talking about that a little bit. It's like, I can use ConvertKit too. It's awesome.
Yeah, I reluctantly use it. There's so many bugs.
It's not as bad as MailChimp. That thing is awful.
The problem with working in software is you see all the bugs and you're like, I could fix that, but I can't.
Oh, really? I do have to tell you something funny because I used to script to edit my videos. And when you switch like the temporal switch or whatever, but the transcription, transcribe, like the automatic transcription, instead of Denise Allen, it calls me Sydney Salad.
Oh, that's bad. Can you train
It's really funny. No, it cracks me up. I put it on Instagram. I was like, I didn't say just script edit. I wasn't going to say it, but it's just like my transcriber is like Sydney Salad.
Well,
hi, this is Sydney Salad with PA ancestors.
I don't know if anyone else uses this script, but you can train it. You can train it to.
Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah.
Right, you've looked into it.
Every week I learn something new in Descript to make my life easier and then at least once a week they update the software. So they're constantly like, hey, restart it. Can you restart it again? We added more updates. I'm like, stop. And they add like new buttons and I'm like,
oh, there we go. Yep, right there.
Yeah, it's every time.
Yeah, every time. Well, they're working hard for your money. No, but
they are. No, it's a great product. I
wanted to show people like so the way I do my newsletter now is I don't just drop the link. I tell you why my pitch for you reading it, and then if you're not going to read it, I'm going to tell you the punchline anyway. So I don't know. I'm just like innovating. I'm just like messing around with it because I don't know if like this helps people or not. But it's just the kind of letter that I would want. So that's just.
I prefer that.
My only guideline.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's too pitchy. Just give me a link.
It's what?
It's too salesy or too pitchy. Just give me a link.
Yeah. Well, I
like a description and a little bit of kind of what's in it before you click.
Yeah, exactly. Like I just like I want to do things that are different from everything else I'm seeing out there. So that's my only guideline.
I don't even do that.
I'm the same way. There's no other genealogist doing what I'm doing.
There we go.
There's nobody. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I'm it. I'm the only one doing this format of podcast. There's two guys that do like I was going to say the Boomer Show. I'm sorry. They're just like two older guys and they're just talking, and it's fun and it's adorable, but it's
if you like storytelling, have you come across the Moth?
The Moth? No. Oh, no. I mean, my kids listen to it.
Yeah.
What about Anne Handley?
Oh, wait. Let me write this down. Hold on.
She's a great book called Everybody Writes. And she has a newsletter. She has a newsletter which she writes as a letter to you. So it's not, and I started doing the same thing. It's a real newsletter with real content that's kind of, it's completely separate. It's nearly like a blog post in an email, but it's really, really good. And she sends it on a Sunday.
Oh, I'll have to do that. Okay. I've been using do you know the story grid format from, who's the guy that wrote Do the Work? The guy that works with him.
I have no idea.
Tim Grob.
Yes.
Who?
I don't know where my book is. Yes,
I think it's
Tim
Tim
Grob.
Grob.
Yes. Yeah, the story grid. I use that the book somewhere. The whole idea of conflict and the number of beats per minute. I don't have it down at all, but
Oh, it's Pressfield.
I'm like, it was one of those things, like I could either wait till I get it perfect, practicing it on my own, or I could just start producing episodes and people will. Yes, the story grid book. It's fantastic for developing narrative storytelling.
I hadn't heard of it. Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, thanks for sharing. I was just gonna finish the thought with if you find a really good story to tell, you might want to go on the Moth and tell it, because they really they really like good stories, and you I'm sure you have a ton.
I have a ton.
Yeah.
I'm doing genealogy research. Yeah, I have a ton.
Exactly. Cool. I'm gonna let's see what there's been a bunch of people commenting. I want to answer some questions. Meryl Johnston says, "What about working in public?" That's actually a title of a book that someone has built. But that's more on open source. But yeah, it's absolutely a thing. Building in public, working in public, producing in public.
I was suggesting that. I'll just quickly jump in. I was suggesting that for Dennis when she was saying that the learning in public term didn't resonate with her group. And I was suggesting a different name for that. Yeah, I came across working in public as a concept before I heard of your concept, Twix, with the learning in public. So I've done working in public before with public podcasts to share accountability of what I'm working on, but I like the framing of the learning in public. But that's something that I've actually taken away from this course, is trying to get things out there earlier, even if it's something that I'm learning about, and trying to think through and making my own knowledge base more public. So that's actually an outcome that I really am happy about with the course, that I got my own Notion, my personal blog page up using Notion as part of that. Was one of my intermediate packet tasks.
That's awesome. I like the framing of learning, because if you just come across it like that, no one can get angry at you for that. If you got stuff wrong, then you, even your strongest critics can just become your teachers, right? Like if you just listen to what they're trying to. Some people get really offended when you get things in their domain wrong, and you just go like, yeah, I'm just learning this thing. And listen with an open mind. I think you can learn something from almost everybody. So that's something I prefer the term learning rather than building or working, but they're all in the same vein, which is, do more, put stuff out earlier and get more feedback earlier. So congrats on doing that. Okay, awesome. Thanks, Meryl. Let's see, Dave. Dave says, I think it could help giving members of the group same guidance on how you see effective learning. Maybe share your process with them. I'm not sure. Is that addressed to me?
No, that was to Denise. That was about the name. I think the name is somewhat important, but I think actual guidance and kind of helping frame things, because I think we have the idea of our way is the best way, and also the other people who are doing it not your way will think their way is the best way, until you kind of lead by example and say, this is how I do it this way, and this is why it's so good, and this is why it's so helpful, kind of, dangle a carrot in front of them.
Cool, very cool. All right, awesome. Yes, well, Stephen Pressfield is also known for the War of Art, which I feel like it would be a travesty not to mention that, because it's one of the most cited books for pushing through the resistance that I feel often. So I have a commitment to myself to publish one blog post a week, and today I did it. So literally, sometimes I get unblocked, and then sometimes I feel the resistance and I don't push out anything. And between May 28th and June 7th, I didn't write anything. So I did technically miss a week, but I pushed out the one I knew I could deliver today, just for this group, essentially. That I thought, like, yeah, okay, I felt guilty about last week, having poor internet issues, so I just wrote up what I was going to say anyway. But yeah, War of Art, really great for identifying the resistance and saying, like, it's something that everybody deals with. Okay, Dave has a screenshot here. I don't know what the screenshot says. Click to open. All right, am I going to regret opening this, Dave?
Yeah, totally. Totally.
All right, you want to talk through this? What is this? You have some.
Wouldn't it be brilliant if it was like a side profile of you or something? It was like, I'm in the room. This is at the end of my newsletter that's going out later on today. So I just thought it was quite relevant to share what we were talking about there. Could have, actually thanking people, and that's what I'm trying to do, and that's what I'm trying to encourage. And that's kind of part of the format that I'm going to put on the bottom of my newsletters is people that have inspired me or given me advice or helped me out. I'm going to try to actually thank those people as well and mention them.
Yeah, that's really great. Yeah, so I think a gratitude practice is really helpful, particularly for just like enjoying life in a just. I think sometimes when we feel down, we don't necessarily remember how lucky we are sometimes. So having a gratitude journal like that can be really helpful.
It's like you wrote this newsletter today. It really is. You're talking about gratitude, and my newsletter starts about technology and how I went on a tour and looked at old famine houses in Ireland from the 18th century, and how technology back then was a blacksmith and a forge and a hammer, and how we're so, we've luxury of a kind of multinational media company of 20 years ago. We've more reach than they do right now from our laptop. And I was talking about how we need to kind of be grateful and actually share it out there with the world as well. This is so strange. It's like you were actually taking screenshots of my machine today.
Well, I mean, I'm saying it based off of your prompt, so I did have something to go off of. I should mention for those people who are starting out new blogs, you might get caught in this. I'm currently in this trap, so I'll show you something I'm struggling with right now, which is that everything I write is basically an essay. Some of them are very high impact. So for example, this was a very highly trafficked blog post of mine, and people expect quite a lot out of it. But some of them are just tutorials, like how to do X, and it's just my notes for myself. So I think there should be some kind of hierarchy in your blogs if you're setting up a blog, of like something that's an essay, something that's a tutorial, something that's a note. So I don't think I necessarily do this very well, but I wanted to give you an idea that like having some kind of separation of like, okay, these are essays, I don't have to put these out constantly, but notes are very low bar that don't have to be a big deal. They can just be like a 3 sentence thing, and that's something that I see coming up a lot in other people's work. So I think I may have covered this, but I just want to cover it again. TILs. Who's the guy that does 5 years? Hacker. There we go. This guy. So I may have talked about this, but a lot of these TILs are just like TIL, and then you just kind of block this here, and that's an intermediate packet, right? Because that's a reusable thing that you can come back and tie up into a bigger blog post, or just use that as a reference for yourself. So that's one form of TIL. The other one I did not cover in previous sessions is Nikita Voloboev. if there's a proper Russian speaker here, let me know. But he has his own wiki, so he just throws in like, okay, I'm interested in writing prompts. It's great, and it's just updated over time. I'm gonna drop the link here so that you can see it. Glenn says it looks like he's using Dendron. I think he's using Gitbook. Maybe Dendron's the charting tool. I'm not sure, but like having a place essentially where it's not a big deal to drop a piece of information and store it somewhere. And this is a public second brain essentially, right? I really like this compared to what I have. I just have a bunch of essays, and I feel restricted. I feel the resistance. Especially after I have a good one, then the next one has to top it, and I never do. So then I just stop writing for 2 weeks. So set yourself up so that you don't fall into this trap essentially, because I'm facing it right now, and it's a real problem that I'm dealing with. So I like this approach. I like the TIL approach, and just any other way in which you can unblock yourself from publishing something out there that Doesn't have to be a big deal. I'll give you one more example, and then I'll shut up. Which is these CSS Tricks has been doing this a lot. Again, so I'm very developer focused, but here, this blog post is one paragraph. Sorry. No, it's riffing off of someone else's blog post. Let me see if I can find a better example for you, because I don't think, maybe I can just find his work.
I know what you're talking about, though. Do you like those posts?
Well, he's adding his commentary. That's it. It doesn't have to be a big deal. So maybe you don't like it just because like it's so minor. But it's actually substantial.
I think it's more the authority behind CSS Tricks that I find if I was to go and look for something, and then I land on their article, I would be thinking, oh, great, I'm going to get what I'm used to. I'm going to get the detail in here.
Look at this. Like, it's someone else's blog post, and he's just taken the most relevant parts, and then he says link to the blog post. So it's a form of progressive summarization, but it's a blog post for him. But like, hey, he agrees. That's why he's quoting it.
Well, I do agree with that if it can be as short as possible, there is too much of that going to influence. I'm writing a blog, it has to be at least 800 words long.
That's
kind of, old school SEO kind of bullshit stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So I really like this. I really like this idea of like just removing resistance. It's not about this format. It's not about my format or whatever, but just if you feel resistance,
I don't think for people starting out, though, I think for people starting out, you need to be cautious that this is not a shortcut to publishing more and more, and you haven't given it that time to kind of to marinate in your consciousness as well.
Sure. Yeah. So yeah, I would say do something on the order of like that's why I have the 3 strikes rule, right? Something I definitely think about a lot in terms of like the first time you come across something, you've just heard about it, so you don't have that much of an opinion. The second time you've started to explain it, but you also found it useful to explain it a second time, and the third time you have enough of a context to start writing about it. So I find this very helpful for moving that diamond leftwards, because our natural position is for the diamond to be all the way shifted to the right. This diamond, the code diamond, right? Like the natural position is to be all the way here. We need to find ways to move it all the way left as much as possible, to try to converge more. Okay, so IP says 35 principles post. You got it coming up. I do have a search on my site. Okay, so yeah, all right. So I'm gonna leave it there in terms of like the content that I have, but I wanted to leave some room for Guy since Guy's here. Not to put you on the spot again, but like people love the last time you took over. What do you normally cover in your session?
Yeah, I just recap yours actually.
No,
I mean, only partially joking. I've gotten such wonderful content today from you and also from others, Denise in particular. So thank you for that. I'm actually going to quote you. I hope you don't mind, Denise, in my session tomorrow. For me, it's tomorrow. I don't know for others. So I would say the one big takeaway I got from your sessions and from Tiago's sessions and from taking the course again and teaching it is something that's been really bugging me about my second brain, and I couldn't really articulate it as clearly until probably this week. There was in the premium Q&A, for those who are in the premium option for building a second brain, Tiago had one of the students also had a fantastic quote, and I'm going to paste it in the chat here because it really resonated with me. And here I found it. And just bear with me for 1 second while I paste it in here. The student was Andrea Ames, and she was talking about fear and your second brain. And for me, this really resonated. You're talking about the resistance a bit, Swix, and for me, it's that resistance is fear. Because in my line of work, and I don't know if others are in a similar line of work, if I put something in public and it touches on something that is related to my work and I don't have permission to talk about it, I could lose my job. And that instills quite a bit of fear if you could lose, have severe career impact for expression. And that's what really bugged me the first time I took Building a Second Brain, because I have a lot to express. It's probably why I took the course in the beginning. It's probably why I volunteered to be a mentor. I want to express myself. I've always wanted to, and the things that I'm most interested in, not coincidentally, are the things that I do for work. And there's a few things that are not work related that I could talk about freely, but the things I really want to talk about are work related, and I can't talk about it without a lot of hassle. So how do I break through that resistance? How do I overcome that fear? And Andrea said, instead of fearing being judged, maybe I should reframe it and I should fear not being seen. Like, what's the bigger fear? Like, the truth is, I could get permission to talk about things. I just let that fear stop me. And as a result, I'm not able to express. And so I focus on other things like capturing, organizing, even distilling, but I just cannot express. I'm always hitting that wall. How do you get through it? That's what I want to deal with now that I've taken this course again, and I'm not anywhere near there. I still have a lot to do, but now I know exactly what the issue is. And now I have some tools in my disposal to get there. And you all have helped me get there, and I'm grateful for it. So, in my sessions, we do a little bit of Notion templating. And so the only thing I would add that I did develop a Notion template for a project starter or a kickoff template, similar to what Tiago does. I think as long as you reduce friction in those kinds of tasks, it makes the project kickoff and project ending process a bit smoother. But really, I mean, folks, it's all about the expression. And if we can figure out how to do that, and I got lots of good ideas today, I think we're in a good shape. So that's where my mind is at the moment.
So for those who weren't here in our third week, Guy actually shared his mindfulness engine, which blew everyone away. I feel like if you're here for the Notion stuff, I did not touch Notion at all today. but is there? Are you saying
Thank
there's
God
a
for that? That's not what I came for. Probably would have broke your computer.
Well,
anyway.
Inspiration is always good for seeing how people use their tools, and you can pull that in. I definitely, am very inspired by the way that you sum up your daily, weekly, monthly. I really like that. So I'll share this in the notes for people who weren't around for week 3. But did you want to share your checklist, or is it just personal?
Yes, it is not quite ready for prime time. I will share I'm still working on it, frankly. I am going to share the Building a Second Brain startup template that I'm developing, focusing on distill and express. And I will have it already has the project completion checklist template in there. And by the time that I do my session on Tuesday at 2 a.m. Eastern time, for me, I'm in California, it'll be 11 at night. For that, it will be in there as well. And I will have a Loom video that I will post to Circle as well. So it's not quite ready, but it's all in there, or will be in there shortly.
You're great at this. I'd say, I mean, there's ways to express within. I just vaguely know that you work in the Foreign Service or some kind of something similar.
That's right.
I mean, that's got to be a huge organization. You could share just internally, I guess. I don't know how.
I could.
Yeah,
I definitely could, and that is where probably I'm going for. But frankly, it's not as interesting. It's like I want to share this stuff, and I want to share the stuff that Dave is talking about, and like that, and to think bigger picture. And the stuff I want to share touches on foreign policy, on bureaucracy, but at the same time it covers productivity, writing, tech, and for that I still need permission, as long as you're touching even a bit. And that's the challenge. But yes, absolutely. And that's the advice Tiago gave me a year ago is, be the expert internally on some subject. But I don't know. It doesn't excite me as much. But yes, it's there.
Have you considered during the Michael Crichton, which is have a pen name and write fiction, but use the fiction to explore the issues that you want to actually write about.
That is an interesting idea. I
Oh,
have not considered that. That is a great idea. That's a really good idea. Is there a link to some article or something? I don't know. Is that the Arthur Michael Crichton?
Yeah, the Jurassic Park guy.
Yeah.
I mean, just go read his Wikipedia. He led a full life. Let's just say that.
Well said.
He was like bored in he was bored in medical school, but he wasn't allowed to write, so he just wrote under a pseudonym. And from that came these movies.
Awesome. Awesome. I'm gonna write a musical. No one will figure it out.
Yeah. Cool. Well, appreciate you coming along and sharing. Yeah, we're well over time. You know, I don't want to drag too long, but we are available to you on email and on Circle and on Discord if anyone prefers to hang out on Discord. I'm in there all day because I have my my book community. But no, it was a pleasure serving. I like that word, serving alongside with you. Oh, we have a last minute hand raise from Parita. I'll feel this. Hey.
Hi, Sean. Hopefully it's not too last minute because I just wanted you guys to present as much as you could before I interrupted with a question.
Sure.
So I have I guess maybe 2 organizing related question and 2 learning in public question.
Yeah.
Organizing, I think part of at one instance in your presentation, you mentioned something about, wanting to organize your files in Dewey Decimal Systems or something. And another instance you had mentioned that you may be a little bit more disorganized. But is there anything you might be able to share just how you go about organizing your files? Especially you being, like, I don't know, are you a Mac person, PC person, Mac person?
Mac person. I don't have that many files, so I don't think it's that interesting. I have my this is literally my work desktop. I have work stuff. Sorry, I have code stuff here. These are all GitHub. These are all code repos. I don't have many files. I just have code. And then I have my work stuff, and some of these are like order forms and stuff like that, and they're all sorted by name. I just don't have that many files. I'm sorry, but in terms of the librarian thing that I was referring to, was just really this stuff, right? Like the cloud stuff. When I worked at Amazon, I just slotted a whole bunch of stuff in here, and I didn't really do any progressive summarization or anything like that. So this is very much building a library, hoarding information, and not really using it to produce any output. So it's a bit of self-criticism for me, saying like, yeah, I went through the motion of the capture habit, but I didn't really do anything else with that. I'm trying to reflect on the lessons here, which is like you should bias your second brain towards action. Arguably, this is just a resource, so I don't need it yet. So I'm just sticking in there just in case. But it definitely reflects on me that I want to do more action. But ironically, the most disorganized stuff that I do is the more action focused one. So I recently reorganized this, but now I have my newsletter source material that I lay out, that I update throughout the week. I have my mixtape stuff where I do my audio podcast work. And then I have just like business ideas, to-dos that I need to get done. These are notes. I don't know why I just like decided to put one note here instead of in Notion. I should have just done that. Anyway, and then here's our blog post ideas, which are just like a random list of stuff. So it's super disorganized, but I know where to find them. That's the main thing that counts. So yeah, I have a organization habit here and a disorganization habit here, and it kind of works. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you. Thanks for those insights. So did I just hear you say that when you worked at Amazon, are you not with AWS at this time?
Yep, I've left.
Or you are?
No, I left in February.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So yeah, I think that was going to be my second file system question is basically for your work stuff, do you also try to somehow organize things, in company system according to any para thing? But
Yeah.
you do.
So I actually did a para reorganization at work, but I don't think I can show you. There's too much in there that's confidential. But
okay,
it's para.
cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I think learning in public question may have a few subsets. When do you think, I know like a whole lot of people in software industry over the last 20 years or more, they're obviously always up to date and the first to know about new products. And, everybody just joined Twitter and everybody is just like has a public profile on Twitter itself. But when did you sort of start your Twitter journey? I guess in terms of commenting or posting, things of that sort. Was it almost like 10, 15 years ago?
Whoa, no, I don't think Twitter's that old. Is it that old? No,
It's 10 years old.
I joined Twitter a while ago, but I didn't use it. So it's a bit misleading to look at, when someone joined, right? I got serious about it 3 years ago, 4 years. So you could see, I think you can see Twitter growth. I don't know how far back you can look. You used to be able to look like the whole history, but I'm not sure you can anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I got serious in around about 2017, and for those people, like, if you want to know what it looks like to tweet into a void for like a year, you can go look at my own tweets. It's sometimes really sad because I would just go for months just like shouting into the void before I figured out that, oh, you should engage with people on stuff they're working on so that they're interested in what you have to say. Yep. This is me, I don't know, making memes, like not really having, like, I started replying a little bit, but like not really having much traction on the stuff that I wrote. Yeah, I don't know, you it's a very long, slow ride, and then people start recognizing you, and you start getting pulled into people's networks, and it's a lot easier after a while.
Very cool, thank you. So then, in line with sort of the learning topic, there is this learning in public, and obviously some industries just require that, learning is continuous. But because I'm just so fascinated by how you present things and just your journey overall, what was your education career like? Did you do schooling here in the US and then move to Singapore, or just curious if that's okay?
Yeah, of course. I was born and raised in Singapore. I went to school for college in the US. And then I basically worked in the US and UK for the next 10 years. Yeah, I basically spent most of my adult life in the West, air quotes. I did travel around a little bit. But I'm only here in Singapore physically because of COVID, because I was in New York City when COVID hit, and New York looked pretty bad. So I didn't want to stay there and rely on, like, maybe have to chance it in the hospital. So I came back to Singapore, where I thought it would be safer.
I see. Okay. Very cool. Yeah. I think maybe that's about it. How would you say, because I think your blog post mentioned something about joining Amazon maybe last year.
Yeah.
And then obviously you're at a new place. How would you say overall your experience at Amazon was? And sorry for this interview type of questions, or like podcasting type of questions.
You want to join Amazon, right?
I don't. I'm just interested by this whole coding thing that you put together on your website and just your works within there.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've been pretty open about. So Amazon has a culture of writing, which I think I am very strongly aligned with, and also they're despite having 1.3 million employees, they have a culture of working in small teams that are dissociated from each other. So I liked those very much. The problem with working at a big company like Amazon still is that you still have a lot of legacy technology to deal with, and that was going to be fine, and they pay you pretty well for it. So the only reason I left was because I found a startup opportunity that I really liked, and I thought was going to be a rocket ship. So Amazon's always going to be there, but sometimes the right startup comes along and you just got to take a chance.
Very cool. Thank you. And yeah, just on, I don't know, you may want to probably wrap up soon. I don't know, but just want to thank you again. Your presentation itself of the information, of the wisdom, of the tools, it's fantastic and quite valuable and helpful. So thank you. And to, yeah, sorry, Guy, for foreign service itself, like, are you able to share what region is it that you work with or you have an expertise in? Or have you already shared it and we don't know? I don't know.
No, it's all in my LinkedIn profile. I'm happy
Okay.
to paste that.
Got it. Okay, we'll take a
yeah.
look. Thank
Yeah,
you.
it's my career itself is public. It's just that sometimes we deal with quite sensitive information that can't be very public.
Okay.
If he tells you, he might have to kill you.
Yeah, but I'll make sure to learn that in my second brain before I express. How's that?
Right.
Okay, there's some. Thanks, Farida, for all the great questions, and you can always follow up with us on email as well.
Okay, thank you, Sean.
Yeah, thank you. All right, yeah. Before it gets too long, I wanted to quickly. There was some discussion going on that I missed out about. Yeah, so Tropical MBA. I do enjoy the podcast. I still haven't figured out who Bossman is. They just keep referring to Bossman, and I'm just like, who the hell are these people? But they have really interesting content. Let's see. There's a discussion about Balaji Srinivasan, who talks about the pseudonymous economy. Yeah, I think that's an interesting concept. But keep in mind that he's probably living like 100 years in the future, and it's a very strange thing to be disconnected, to like think so much, think so far ahead, and still have to reconcile that with day-to-day life. So I definitely take what he says with like, okay, that's a possible direction for the future, but no practical relevance to me today. But that said, I do want to highlight one of his talks, which I thought was pretty good. Balaji, Silicon Valley exit, which Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong cited as his inspiration partially for starting Coinbase itself. So if anyone's interested in Balaji's sort of worldview and how that shapes the crypto environment, definitely check out this talk. That's all I'll say about that. Okay, let's see what else. Yeah, someone commented that NYC is basically open now. I know, I'm regretting it right now. Anyway, cool. I think that's about it. It's been a really awesome chat. I love the engagement from everyone. I don't know how to say goodbye. It's always kind of awkward. I'm gonna make sure I share again. These notes. You guys all seem to have it. But we have people's contacts in here. You can. Glenn was asking if there's a public Discord. There is no public Discord for the Learning Public stuff, but it is private, and you're all invited because you have stuck with me through thick and thin. As far as I'm concerned, this is one of the most rewarding experiences, and also a little bit stressful of like doing a Zoom workshop. I've never done this like on a weekly basis for so long. I've done smaller workshops, but these are interesting. I do have a public one, so don't share this Discord. This is only for you guys. I do have a public one for finance stuff, and that's just because my first career was in finance, something I never talked about, but I used to be in hedge funds. But if you want to join that Discord and talk money, you're welcome to come on in, but no promises on whether it's quality or not. I literally just started it because I didn't have an outlet to talk money. So that's where my friends hang out for money stuff. Okay, that's it. Thank you so much. Go build a second brain. I'll see you around on Circle or the internet somewhere. I'm relatively open, as you might be able to tell. I just want to see you achieve your goals as people who build and and learn, and yeah, this is awesome. Thank you so much for taking part in this journey with me.
Thank you, Guy. Thank you, Sean. You guys have been awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Sean.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sean.
All right. Bye, everyone. I am going to stop sharing now. See you on the other side.